Champions League quarter finalists. That's what this team, the mighty Aston Villa, now are. We've won the whole thing before, and no one thought we'd do it that year. This year, apparently, according to Jamie Carragher, we're going to get trounced in the quarterfinals by Liverpool. Well, guess what, Jamie? We ain't getting trounced by Liverpool, and we ain't getting trounced by anybody, but particularly Liverpool, because we ain't playing you. We're playing Paris Saint-Germain. But more on them in a second. Look at that. Villa once again defying the odds. What a team. I was there last night with my man Sam Ty. Had a fantastic night at the Villa. Champions League nights are so unique and special. It is incroyable. What did I think of the game? I'll quickly go over the game because, look, that's what we're here all about. And then we'll look at PSG and then we'll look at other things going on in Villa world. But first things first. So Aston Villa last night, first half, it was like Villa came in to do a containment job. We're already 3-1 up from the first leg. So basically, don't do what Atalanta did, attack Brugge and then allow Brugge to hit you on the break. Because believe me, Brugge scored some tremendous goals against Atalanta on the break. So Villa allow them to, invite the pressure. In one way, we got the coach who's won 4 Europa Leagues. He's been to a Champions League semi-final with Villarreal, just in very recent history. So, he's a man who knows how to get it done in Europe, right? But I think there were times I thought in the first half where Aston Villa went, what have I said before? Sometimes when we try to be composed, we end up being casual. And I thought we looked a little in danger of being too casual last night. And you could hear it amongst the fans. And I think, to be honest, Champions League atmospheres are incredible. But I think when the game got going, I think Villa Park was a little quieter than it has been in previous Champions League games. I think largely because we were already 3-1 up and largely because of how Villa went about it on the pitch, because we just did a containment job and we were happy to allow Brugge to have something like 60 to 70% possession. But that said, we didn't really give them any clear chances, did we? And I mean, they had one header that I think had he connected a bit better with it and got it on target, could well have got in. But that's about it, really. But you have to say the red card is what made the difference, don't you? Because up until that point, I think Brugge are a really well-coached team. I think they're a really good side. And I think their coach is going places. I think a lot of their players are going places. And what they were doing a lot, they were hitting it, crossfield balls out onto their wingers really sticking out wide because Villa play quite narrow, so go out wide and try and make things happen out there. Going out wide, and it was almost like they were targeting Matty Cash quite a lot. And maybe hoping that there could be overlaps that could happen if, say, Morgan Rogers, who was playing on the right, didn't track back. And, a smart enough strategy. And actually, they were looking quite dangerous at times and they were passing through us. And I think that when the red card came, I mean, in fairness, Rashford was through on goal. Great long ball from Emi Martinez. And had Rashford been able to get a shot away, it might have been his first goal for Villa. So, the game plan's worked perfectly, hasn't it? But I think in another world, if they kept 11 players, they might have worked that opportunity and things could have got a little bit more nerve-wracking. But that said, Villa saw out the first half. Fine, was what it was. Second half, from the first kick of it, game over. As soon as Asensio came on, his movement, his touch, his passing, my God, the man is so beautiful. He's so beautiful. I want to write poetry to it. William Shakespeare would write, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" He wrote that about Marco Asensio. I'm telling you, William Shakespeare is from the Midlands originally, wasn't he? So if Aston Villa had been around at the point, he'd have been an Aston Villa fan as well. We've got a lot of celeb fans, and I'm saying William Shakespeare would have been true Villa. So yeah, not Coventry City. You want to support them, maybe Villa. But yeah, shall I compare Marco Asensio to a summer's day? Well, yeah. And this summer we might well be signing the guy because bloody hell, 7 goals already. And trust me, you march yourself down to Villa Park now. I tell you, and you camp outside and you wait for that ticket office to open. Forget the internet. Forget we're going old school here. We're queuing up and we're going to bang down the ticket office and say, "Give me tickets to Aston Villa games." And I go, "Well, obviously, yeah, because you're a Villa fan, but why are you queuing up at 6 a.m. 5 weeks ahead of our next game?" Well, the reason is because I want to see Marco Asensio. And in fact, I might go down to Bodymoor Heath and just stand, get the binoculars out like a Marcello Bielsa scout or something when he was spying on Derby and do just like some people might think I'm a bit of a pervert doing that actually. So well, maybe I won't. But looking out to see just Asensio, see what he's doing, how he touches the ball, his movement, his finishing. his link-up play, all of it summed up with that first goal. He comes deep and like, look, playing 10 men, a player like Asensio is going to run riot, right? So he finds that link, so the defender hits it up into him. He's playing in the 10 role. He's come deep, but taking it. He had space to turn. He ran into it, and from there, Villa start playing around in the final third. Leon Bailey with a really nonchalant chip into Asensio, who's made a fantastic move, and Asensio's finish is so natural. It's so good. It's absolutely tremendous. All of it. Link up play, the natural ability to finish, his touch, which you saw for the second goal, maybe the third goal. And also when he hit the post as well, his movement and his first touch for that was off the scale. And you know what I would say about Asensio, 7 goals already. If you compare him to Ollie Watkins, I'm the chairman of the Ollie Watkins fan club, but they're both very different in the sense of right. They play in the attacking area, and the two of them can play as strikers. Though Asensio tends to play a little bit more as a 10 for Villa rather than as an out-and-out number 9. But what Watkins does is very industrious. He bullies, and a lot of his finishes tend to be like snapshots or instinctive reactions, and so that's kind of where his goals come from, really. But Asensio, it's really interesting to watch how he finishes. It's like watching when he gets the ball as a number 10 and he sees 2 defenders and he sees a player make a run behind, and his weight of pass and his vision to pass it between the defenders to the on-running player. That is like, it's like picking a pass, right? Between the lines or whatever. It's like he finishes like that. He sees the goalkeeper and he sees the post and he sees the tiniest gap, and he's able to just wait a moment, not panic, all time stand still like you've just seen your lover, and he just places it. And I know he hit the post last night, but you saw it against Cardiff. He's finishing there. You saw it again last night with his second goal, and he just placed it firmly in the bottom corner. He just has a way of finishing that is like passing a ball into the net. You can see why this man was a Real Madrid icon for as long as he was. He played there as long as he did. You look at the number of games he played for them. Look at the number of trophies he won for them. How he was such an integral part of Real Madrid having so much success for so long. And the same goes for PSG. Even there this season, if you look, he didn't play lows, but actually, if you look at when he did play, his numbers were really good, which is why when he came into Villa, and I remember I did the sort of a preview about him coming to us, and I pointed out that his numbers are actually pretty good this season, playing largely as a false 9, because at Real Madrid, I remembered him a bit more as a pacey winger who did score a fair chunk of goals, but I didn't really think of him as a sort of a striker, really. But at Villa, he's got that perfect role, that number 10, and that is exactly what I was saying about why I thought Asensio would be such a great player for Villa, because I think we've got the perfect structure for him. And he's also why I thought Joao Felix keeps making idiotic decisions, because we had that position right there for him to go and play in that role, and he wouldn't do it. Egypt. And now he's not in the Champions League either, is he? Because AC Milan went out. Him and Jamie Carragher sitting in a darkened room crying their eyes out. And on top of that, why is fan media so popular? Why is it so popular? It's not because of idiots like me. It's because for years we have, as Aston Villa fans, watched broadcasting. Generally it focuses more on the big 6, which is understandable because they're the ones who tend to have won things in recent times. They tend to be the ones who have the big games. But then teams like Aston Villa, they sort of get a little bit sidelined. We don't get really the great coverage. Sometimes you see pundits who you think have never watched an Aston Villa game in their entire lives talking about, Emi Martinez is saying, yeah, he's a good keeper. He's the best goalkeeper in the bloody world. I just heard a half-an-hour debate the other day on a podcast saying that Alisson was by far the best goalkeeper the Premier League has ever seen. And, maybe you could say Edison's the other one at the moment in the Premier League. There's David Wright. And I was like, do you know who's just won the Ashen Award the last 2 years? Do you know why Lionel Messi has 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup? Why he didn't win it before. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because they've got the best goalkeeper in the world. And so do Aston Villa. That all stems from watching what Carragher said about Liverpool breezing through Villa. Again, just the sheer arrogance of it. And Steven Gerrard coming to Villa. What was he doing at Villa? Stepping stone to go and get the Liverpool job, because that's what it was all about. Look, he could push back and say that's never my intention. Well, yeah, right, sure. Okay. Anyway, enough about that. I thought I'd get that off my chest. But look, PSG gulp. If you ever watched the WWE, Mr. McMahon gulping when he was scared of Steve Austin. Look, I can't deny that looking at PSG right now, I'm thinking gulp. But what is it Ric Flair used to say in WCW and WWF? To be the man, you got to beat the man. Aston Villa have got to beat the man, and PSG right now are it. They've just beaten Liverpool, who until a few days ago were probably seen as the best team in Europe. I think PSG remind me of Luis Enrique's Barcelona 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, Barcelona under Luis Enrique, who's currently the PSG coach, started the 2014-15 season pretty badly. They weren't very good. They had Lionel Messi, Neymar, and Luis Suarez up front, right? Probably the greatest front three that ever existed in world football history. But they started that season pretty shaky. They didn't look like Barcelona really. And then in about December, January of that year, it suddenly just clicked. And when it clicked, it became a tidal wave of incredible football that was unstoppable. Unstoppable. And then they went and did the treble, won the Champions League, La Liga, Copa del Rey. PSG this season have had an almost identical start to the season in that they were very rocky. They almost went out of the Champions League itself. They've lost to Arsenal this season. But in about December, when they beat Manchester City in the Champions League, suddenly it started to look like, ooh, something's clicking here. Ousmane Dembele, who for years has never lived up to the hype and the price tags that he's had. This calendar year, he scored more than 20 goals. In 2025, he scored more than 20 goals. He scored the goal against Liverpool the other day in a false nine position. He's more used to playing as a winger. He's showing his intelligence. He's showing his ability. He's finally becoming the player that so many thought he could be. And I think if you look at PSG, you wonder why were they quite average to start the season. You've just lost Kylian Mbappe, who's a talisman, and you're playing a lot of young Parisians who maybe don't have the experience and maybe will take a bit of time to click, but have the absolute brilliance and quality like Doué or Barcola, Dembele. They have the ability to, when it does click, they could take on anybody. And so I look at PSG and I think they're probably the best team in Europe right now. But with Aston Villa, I think there's a real case to be made that there are people out there who will underestimate Villa. Unai Emery's been there, done it. He's won 4 Europa Leagues. He's got Villarreal to Champions League semi-finals. He's got teams to win trophies on a regular basis. And you don't do that if you don't know what you're doing, and you don't do that if you don't know how to beat the best. And Aston Villa, it's going to be really hard. It is, and it could be 5-0 in Paris. It could, but I don't think it will. And I think we're a team that's there for the big occasion, as we showed Bayern Munich. We're as we showed Man City this season, as we showed Liverpool the other week, when very easily could have beaten them in the last minute. We can turn up and do it. And look, it's going to their movement, their tactical ability, their pace is truly elite, right? But to beat the man, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And Aston Villa, I truly believe, can be the man. I've said it over and over and over again. Everybody laughed at Atletico Madrid and Tottenham years ago as teams that couldn't get it done, average, middling teams like Atletico who even got relegated. They got relegated in the 90s. They didn't beat Real Madrid from the year 2000 to 2012 or 2013. And then in came Diego Simeone. In came a coach who made them a team that win things. They've won the Europa League twice. They've won La Liga twice. They've won the Copa del Rey multiple times. They've got to Champions League finals and been incredibly unlucky not to win them, just because Real Madrid tends to just be Real Madrid. Tottenham, Pochettino came in, turned it all around. They became a team that were always in the top four. Became a team that got to a Champions League final. They became a team that could have won the Premier League had things just gone a little bit better in one or two games. You get the right manager, and sometimes a team that is not fulfilling its potential lives up to the potential at long last. And Aston Villa, whatever happens with PSG, believe me, I think we can do it. I think we can. I think there's a world in which we play Birmingham City's own Jude Bellingham in a Champions League semi-final against Real Madrid. I can see it. I can see it now. But PSG, it is going to be really, really hard. It is. But to be the man, you got to beat the man. And I think Villa can be the man one day. And this is very early in Unai Emery's reign. 2029, his contract is here until. And this is all these experiences we're having right now. This is what it's about. And this is what's going to set us for the future to be a team that not only can get to Champions League, can qualify for the Champions League, can go far in it. Not only a team that can do that, but a team that can go and bloody win it. A team that can win the Premier League, a team that can win the FA Cup. And, he's already got us over that hoodoo of getting Champions League football. There was a long period in my life where I thought we're always just going to be a nearly team. We're just never going to quite do it. And particularly from the year 2010 through to 2019, when Villa were an absolute catastrophe, I thought, I don't know if I'm even going to see Premier League football again. Now look at us. And you look at, we got over that hoodoo of getting Champions League football. The FA Cup this year, we got Preston away. It's going to be a really hard away day. Their home form's really good. Their atmosphere is going to be amazing because they're going to be so up for it. They're going to make it really, really hard for us. But we have to go there and exert ourselves like we did at Club Brugge last week, like we did at Brentford the other day. Go there and show why we're a Champions League team and exert our quality. And if we win that, we're at Wembley. We're in an FA Cup semi-final. And you look at the teams who are left in the FA Cup, why can't we win it? We've got the players for the big occasion. We've got players like Asensio, Rashford, all of these players who our team has done it on the big occasion this season, but they're players who've been there, won things, and when they go to Wembley, it's just another day at the office for them. They know how to get it done, and I think that could really be the thing that makes the difference if we get to Wembley. I think the FA Cup's on. I really do, and if we win that, we're a team who don't just get Champions League, who go far in the Champions League. We're a team who win things. That is so crucial because I just mentioned Tottenham. They're a team who did really well for a long time. They didn't win anything. You got to win something. Incredible. And I just mentioned Rashford there. I will say as well about him as well, seeing him in person. Do you know who he reminds me of, interestingly? There's a bit of a Jack Grealish about him. And now, what I mean by that is he's a very different player to Grealish in that, like, Rashford's pace, it's just the penetration he has when he gets to the byline, when he beats a man with some skill and he pulls it back. How many times? He did it again last night as he got to the byline and pulled it back to Marco Asensio. I think it's 4 or 5 times now that has happened in the exact same spot. Now, Rashford started the game in the first half on the left. Obviously, he got through on goal and was brought down for the red card. But he was pretty, like the rest of the team, was pretty quiet first half. Second half, Ollie Watkins comes off. Rashford goes into the number 9 role with Asensio playing off him. And what Rashford was always doing was he was trying to find a bit of space and pull out kind of to the Villa left. And there were occasions where you could see that ball was on and he was making really good runs. I was really impressed with his movement. And one other thing I'll mention as well, and why I compared him to Grealish a bit, because I think there's going to be a lot of pundits who don't watch Aston Villa who go, well, he's been at Villa now. He's played a few games. He's not scored, though. He's not. It doesn't matter that he hasn't scored because at Villa, in a way, that's not really what he's been required to do. It's more about. I mean, I think he'll get his goal, and I think once he gets a goal, he might just end up going and getting loads of them. But at the moment, it's more about his movement and assists. Jack Grealish didn't score loads of goals for Aston Villa, but could you say that he wasn't such a crucial part of why we would, get winning games? Well, you could, because he was our best player by a mile. And you look at Rashford now, and what he does a lot is like Grealish, it's the pass, his incisive pass into a forward. And he did it to Tyrone Mings, bizarrely was in the number 9 role at the moment. But watch that highlight back, and it's Rashford's pass. It's a really direct passing. The amount of passes he makes, like the pass before the other pass, that makes everything, that kicks everything off in the final third, is really impressive. And it's something that I think doesn't turn up in stats. It doesn't turn up in FB ref or whatever. But if you watch it live, you see it. And then on top of that, you see his pace. You see how he panics teams. He causes a bit of mayhem. He gets to the byline. And when he does that, it drags defenders towards him, leaves space for Asensio, whose movement is so intelligent. And it's why those cutbacks are working, because Asensio's a great finisher. He's a really intelligent mover. He always knows where to be. And Rashford is a really intelligent and skillful player who knows where he's going to be, gets it back to him. And it's working. And they've been tremendous loan signings so far. They really have. And like I say, I think they're the players for the big occasion, and they could be what gets us European football again next season. They could be what wins us a big trophy this season, and who knows what trophy that could be. Dare to believe we're final eight. We're in the final eight of the Champions League. Aston Villa are in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and we're playing PSG. This is what it's all about. I gulped, a bit nervy about it, but this is what it's about. This is who you want to play. I don't want to bloody play Liverpool again. We always play them. I don't want to play Man City. I don't want to play Art. I don't care. I want to play Real Madrid. I want to play Barcelona. I want to play PSG, because they are the assets. They're the ones you look at and you go, this is what we got to be. This is what we got to live up to. And this is who we have to compete with. And if you don't play them, you never know. You play them, you find that you fuck around, you find out. That's what happens. And that's it. We're here to do what we got to do. And, I'll swear again, as Australians say, as Ange would say, we ain't here to fuck spiders. A saying in Australia. Yeah, we ain't here to do that. We're here to make. We're not here to make up the numbers. We're not here to politely go out to Liverpool in a quarter final and make Jamie Carragher happy. We ain't here to do that. We're here to win things. We're to upset the apple cart and let teams know, PSG and Real Madrid and Barcelona who wouldn't give Aston Villa a second thought. We'll look at going to Villa Park and think, don't fancy that. As Ron Saunders once said, would you bet against us? Because I wouldn't. Let's do it. We can do it. Come on. And all of our players, Pau Torres came on yesterday. Easy to forget that. Amadou Onana was warming up. Suddenly, finally, it looks like we have our full contingent back. And if they can stay fit and firing to the end of the season, that is going to make an absolutely enormous difference. And it could make a big difference at Champions League level. Premier League could get more wins than we would have done before. And in the FA Cup, the big game players, the squad, honestly, this is now, this run from late March to the end of the season, this is it. And we could be on the cusp of seeing something very, very special happen at Aston Villa. Dare to believe we're a special football club, special people. Big shout out to Sam Ty, who went to the game with last night. What a guy. Yeah, saw my Uncle Paul, cousin Thomas, Arnie Kaplan, all. What a lovely group of people. Paddy from Full Liverpool Maguire as well, and a few of the Irish villains have got to meet up with the Aston Social. Love it. That's what Aston Villa's all about, isn't it? It's one big family from various parts of your life, various friendships you make. And long may it continue, and long may we continue to have Champions League nights, Europa League nights, whatever it is. Long may they continue. Let me know what you think. Please comment, please subscribe. Up the mighty Villa.